Hi, this is Billie Beene here with a U.S. news update. Today's date, October 21, 2024, time in Texas, about 8 a.m. Some of the things we'll be covering. U.S. military takes all the Waffles. And D.C. crash? Was it ETs? Monoliths. What's going on there? And the deep state hits Texas. President Trump serves up fries in Festerville, Trevose, Pennsylvania. And North Carolina, early vote. They're all in for President Trump. So let's get started. So I'm going to begin with the tropics. We had Nadine come in over Central America, and as is traditional with hurricanes, not what we saw with Helene. The tropical storm came in over Central America overnight and dissipated over land. Recall, excuse me, what we saw with Helene. Helene was bizarre behavior not seen before by a hurricane. Therefore, we know it was geoengineered. Helene came in over Florida and not only maintained hurricane integrity and strength, but sped up 20, 25, 32 miles to go in and devastate Georgia and South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, some parts of Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia. So that's going on. But Nadine is gone. We still have Oscar on the other side of Cuba. And as far as I know, Cuba, the entire island, 10 million people are still without power since Friday for unknown reasons. But we see Oscar currently at 45, a tropical storm at 45 miles per hour, 1,000 barometric pressure, moving forward at 2 miles per hour, predicted to turn back to the east away from the U.S. Space weather is quiet today. And people can see the comet T Atlas leaving the northern hemisphere. It was photographed overnight in South America, Argentina, but now moving to the southern hemisphere. So that's going on. So I have a Patriot subscriber who's talking about what's happening in North Carolina. FEMA is now bringing in many coffins. Yes, the last information I had, I believe that was Friday or Saturday, was that 10,000 body bags have been used up in North Carolina, and that now we see FEMA is bringing in coffins. And also FEMA puts up a tornado shelter. FEMA is staging in a central part of North Carolina, but the tornado shelters are only for the FEMA people. And Vandersteel with Steel News had also brought that information out. And this, FEMA confiscates relief supplies when it can. So while the U.S. JV just approved tens of millions of dollars to go to Ukraine. So we see an evil and corrupt current U.S. federal government working against the people of America. So that's going on. And now we have this. I have a Patriot subscriber. I have a Patriot subscriber who lives in Pennsylvania, and he says he works overnight. He delivers newspapers. And he states he has not seen auroras, and he does not believe NOAA and NESSUM. I have a Patriot subscriber from North Carolina. Rumor is Duke Energy released water to remove people from the land. And Duke is also invested in the lithium mine. I have that from several sources, and it's now coming out in some mainstream media that Duke Energy did open dam doors on a dam that Duke Energy operates. And as I've stated multiple times, I believe that was the plan to get the people off of the land in North Carolina, to open the gates on multiple dams and give no warning to the people. I have a Patriot subscriber. In Florida, FEMA steals cars. And my Patriot subscriber has a friend who operates an auto repair business. And he says FEMA, every hurricane, steals cars from his lot. FEMA says they confiscate the cars because they're ruined. But this guy that operates the auto repair says there's nothing wrong with these cars except what I'm repairing on them. So FEMA steals cars every hurricane. And I have a Patriot subscriber talking about chemtrails all day long. This would have been October 16 and 17 in Southwest Florida. Yeah, it's not enough for the deep state to bring in those death-causing hurricanes, but also then put chemtrails over the business. I'm going to bring out some information now from a source I've used in the past, and this source is the ACIO, Alien Contact Intel Organization. They're based in Pine Gap, Australia, and they're affiliated with the U.S. government, NSA. And this information typically comes out from Peter the Insider. He's the director of the 12th Division of the ACIO. And he's talking about the crash recently over DC. He says it was ETs. Now, he's calling them, we use that term, extraterrestrial. He's calling them Nephilim. And I'll refresh on this from the Bible, Genesis chapter 6. We had the fallen angels, and they mated with humans. They made a hybrid that we call Nephilim. In the Bible, they were generally called giants. But according to Peter the Insider, we're seeing Nephilim. Now, currently, we call this the deep state. And I've brought this out before. The fallen angels mated with humans, made the Nephilim. They have since over time become 13 bloodline families. We're familiar with Rothschild, Rockefeller, and so on. Deep state. And that is who we're working against. So Peter's information is the deep state, Nephilim, are engaging in weather warfare. We would believe it. And that recently this deep state has been hitting Texas, and also that DC crash. I brought out over Mr. MBB333 had video of the helicopters, some type of crash over DC. So Peter the Insider brings out that was deep state, Nephilim. And now we have this. Yeah, I have a Patriot subscriber. DC, no crash. And that was footage from an air show in North Carolina in January. And I believe this is the information that's being put out. But there is criminal activities at sites shown, but no crash. I have a Patriot subscriber talking about ballots. We received excuse me, our mail-in ballot yesterday, that would have been October 18, and this is in Oregon, but on the list for president, they still have RFK Jr. And that's because some states could not remove RFK Jr. from the list of presidential individuals because he dropped out too late. They had already printed their ballots. I have another Patriot subscriber who says, I met his father, that would have been RFK Sr., when he gave a speech at Kansas University at Allen Fieldhouse. That was a year before he was killed. I was 17 and I was devastated. Yeah, that was very sad. But the fact that RFK Jr. is still on some presidential ballots, it's to be expected in some states. So Peter the Insider is talking about the Washington, D.C. crash. He says it was a ship from Sirius, that's a star, planet, and it was shot down by the U.S. Air Force, excuse me, using F-22 Raptors. So the U.S. military shot down the ET ship, and he says also the deep state Nephilim are contaminating corn in Texas. And they're doing this to experiment on people through their consumption of corn, people and animals. And we have this, the drones over the Pentagon. It's believed, or Peter the Insider is putting out, that drones over the Pentagon are to advise the Pentagon or the U.S. military of ET visitors. Now, I will say this. I became acquainted with Jessica Ariel Morocco. She interviewed Peter the Insider. I became acquainted with them in like 2021 and 2022 when I began looking at monoliths at the instruction of God. God said, look into this. Now, monoliths is a sign about, can be 8 to 10 feet or 6 to 8 feet, has symbols on it that began to appear in many states in the U.S. in like 2021, maybe the latter part of 2020, and nations around the world. I ignored it. I thought it was a stunt. It was being put out that people were putting up these monoliths and saying they're from outer space and come by our business and look at them. But God said, no, look into this. Now, ABC News is reporting new monoliths are appearing, and they're often very shiny and mirrored. And we have 2 new monoliths recently, one in Bellevue, Colorado, that appeared June 23, 2024, and in Las Vegas in October of 2024. So what I got from I put out several videos on monoliths. What I got was Mike from around the world is regularly on Pastor Paul Begley's Thursday night program, said the monoliths were a communication device. Jessica Ariel Morocco said they were here to synchronize frequency. And God said 1/2 of them are real. So we see some type of sign dropping from outer space in multiple locations in the U.S. and around the world, a communication device with the ETs. And now I have this from BPEARTHWATCH. He's talking about an executive order 13603 and enabling, I believe this came out under Obama, that the federal government can seize in times of national emergency food for humans and animals, energy, transportation, water, medicine. Yeah, so that's going on. And now we have this from Fox Business. I believe in my last video I brought out that it appears that the U.S. military is taking control of food in the U.S. So from Fox Business, we have Bruce Pack. That's a processor of meat products. And they also recalled chicken. So October 9, Bruce Pack came out with a 348-page document listing all of the things that the U.S. meat products that the U.S. military is going to take charge of. Scripps News, Walmart, Target, and other locations. Now, you may say the U.S. military taking control of food. That sounds like a conspiracy. Well, there's now a recall at locations for Waffles. And we know the cover story is being put out, oh, they're being recalled because they had listeria or salmonella. But what's being recalled from Walmart, Target, and other locations is Waffles, all brands. So it's not reasonable to believe that all brands of waffles from all manufacturers are all being recalled for listeria. I submit, and this goes back really about 3 to 6 months. I believe it was Canadian Prepper who came out initially with that information that the U.S. military was taking control of food at the food processing level. He would have had contacts because he's has a prepper business, and so he orders from the manufacturers. But so that's going on, and Bruce Pack has recalled 12 million pounds of meat that's ready to eat, that's sold at places like Walmart, Target, Kroger. I submit the U.S. military is taking control of food across the nation. And now we have this. Okay. So how Turner is bringing this information out. We had, and I have another source for this. We had overnight in Houston, we had a helicopter crash. It took off from about 8 o'clock last night. It took off from Ellington Air Force Field and crashed near Elgin and Ennis. And on board were 4 people, all of whom have passed away. And the helicopter hit a radio structure, you know, a wire steel structure. Now, radio towers are hundreds of feet in the air, and we understand that the lights on the radio tower had been out since October 17, and they apparently there was a problem in repairing them. So we had the radio tower going hundreds of feet in the air, no lights on it. It had put in place a NOTAM, a no-fly, over the structure that had been in place since October 17. Then we have the helicopter taking off at night from Ellington, and evidently the helicopter pilot, we understand this was not affiliated with government, it was a private helicopter. Apparently, the helicopter pilot was not familiar with the area, and he struck the radio tower. Now, radio towers carry millions of volts of electricity. So the helicopter hit the tower, exploded, and caused a fire, and all of the people on board perished. So that happened overnight. And now we have this from Newsweek. Yeah, the helicopter crash in Houston. 4 people were on board. The helicopter was an R-44. Hit Houston in the 2nd Ward. East of downtown Houston, it had departed from Angleton, 15 miles from the radio tower. So that's going on. And now we have this from Steve Quayle. Economic collapse. 79% of American citizens believe the U.S. is on the wrong track. Food costs and gas prices keep going up, but wages remain the same or even decrease. And we can see the impact now on home improvement businesses. We see True Value filing for bankruptcy. We see Home Depot dumping millions of square feet of warehousing. And we see Walgreens, a drugstore chain, closing 1,200 stores. And we have this, that over the weekend, North Carolina began early voting, and it's believed they're doing as well as they can. Some locations in western North Carolina are still having problems reaching people there. But in other parts of North Carolina, they're having record turnout for voting. And I assume they're voting for President Trump. And we had over the weekend, President Trump learning how to operate the French fry fryer at a McDonald's in Pennsylvania, and one shot of him is at the drive-up window. Hi, I'm President Trump. Can I take your order? So we see President Trump boots on the ground connecting with American citizens. So I think it's good to pray for America, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.